body pain on the left side. Don't know why. Going to get heart attack. I know I'm not. I'm physically quite fit. I know because I was shivering. It was quite cold in US. And so, but it wasn't freezing as on the East Coast. The West Coast was a bit more cooler. I mean, say warmer, but still cool. So I wore a light thing, so maybe that's why my muscles were twitching. Because as soon as I came back to Southeast Asia, whole 1 week, nothing wrong. I didn't feel anything. So sometimes when you get all these things, you wonder to yourself, hey, am I going to die early or not? And so the question that all of you have to ask yourself, do you want to live long? And do you want to live long with a good quality of life? My friend's father has a Rolls Royce outside his house, stroke at the age of 55, 56 years old. That's about my age. Stroke. Lived until 70 years old. 15 years old, 15 years on the bed with stroke. When I go and see him, uncle, how are you? Want to do anything? He'll just go his eye away, but rice tube going out, down to him, 2 Indonesian maids to take care of him for 15 years. That long to be a stroke patient. And so finally he died at 70, I think. Yeah. I told my friend when he died, I'm so sorry your father died. Actually he says, I'm glad actually he died. I was getting a bit difficult. And auntie would not travel anywhere. Just be in the home, taking care of uncle. House, got Rolls Royce, they don't want to drive. Quite big house, they got Indonesian maids. So sometimes when we live long and we get sickness, my friend says it's good that we die early. Nobody will suffer. The problem is this, we have a survival gene. Until now it's being studied, what exactly we don't know. They say the survival gene will kick in before the age of 70. In other words, if you get a stroke now at 50, 55, 60, you're not going to die immediately. Your body is going to kick back and fight. And therefore, you will be awake, you'll be alive. But how much alive, we don't know. Are you going to be fully alive, can walk? At least you can walk, will be good. But if you be like my uncle, my friend's father, like that, for 15 years, the quality of life is not good. So to have good quality of life, you need to have good health. And to have good health, you need to have good practices, which I will talk about that after sundown. Today, I wanted to talk about Ellen White because I'm going to talk about certain things that she will say over here about our health. And this is the part where you have to go back and talk or think to yourself, what is this message that Ellen White is giving me? Ellen White received instruction from God regarding the health message. She says, I have had great light from the Lord upon the subject of health reform. I did not seek this light. She did not seek this light. I did not study to obtain it. It was given to me by the Lord to give to others. By the way, Ellen White, not highly educated, but you see her writings, her handwriting is very good. If you can see her handwriting, and you can see the English that she writes, it is a fantastic English for a 9th grader. And the knowledge that she has on health is something that will inspire me at least, and inspire all of you to know that a 9th grader, standard 3, can write so much message until nearly everyone can understand or rather accept it. If SDA practice what they profess to believe, if they are sincere health reformers, they would indeed be a spectacles to the world, to angels, and to men. And they would show a greater zeal for the salvation of those who are ignorant of the truth. If they profess to believe, if they are sincere health reformers. It's interesting how this topics comes into Ellen White's writing, that she has to put the word health reformers in us. Then we would be a greater zeal. Somebody from Club Sehat met me last week. Club Sehat Indonesia came to Penang last week, and he was telling me, we are able now to convert non-Adventists to become Adventists through our Club Sehat. And they are so excited now of being Sehat that they have, since they say Club Sehat is identified with Adventist church, they will go to the church. But this Eddie Nohar, he's the director of Club Sehat Indonesia. So he told me, it was surprising that this lady decided to go to a church, an Indonesian church, SDA church, where they had potluck. And in that potluck, there was non-vegetarian food. And she was surprised because she thought, hey, Club Sehat, everybody is healthy, everybody is supposed to have vegetarian food. I come to this church, hey, got non-vegetarian food available. Is this the right church I went to or not? She asked this thing. So sometimes what we practice in our church, individual might be different. Church, I think, also has to be very important so that other people can identify or see what we are doing. It is impossible for the Spirit and the power of truth to sanctify a man, soul, body, and spirit when he is controlled by appetite and passion. Now in this case, appetite doesn't mean vegetarian. Appetite is also food. How much food do we eat? See, remember, I'm an Adventist, but I still eat quarter pounder with cheese. Is it healthy or not? How do we choose our food? Do we take a lot of snacks in our food? Do we eat a lot of unhealthy junk food in our this thing? Is curry really good for us or not? Is santan good for us or not? Is everyday eating cendol good for us or not? By the way, all these are delicious food. Penang, when you talk about Penang, you must talk about char kway teow, you must talk about laksa, you must talk about cendol. And they said, Penang food must have nasi kandar, but I thought nasi kandar is whole of Malaysia. And then you eat all this food, and you expect to be healthy, and you expect to go to church and says, yay God, I'm healthy and I will live to 80 years old. And when something happens to you at 55, 60, where is God? The question will come sometimes, some of you say, where is God? I got sick. How come? And this is the part where sometimes we have to ask ourselves, how did we abuse our body? Do we follow the principles that have been given to us? And then Ellen White says, it is impossible for the Spirit and the power of truth to sanctify a man, soul, body, and spirit when he is controlled by appetite and passion. When the animal part of the human agent is strengthened by meat eating, the intellectual powers diminish proportionately. Now it's interesting, do you know that before the flood, man was living about 700, 600, 800 years old? And after the flood, with the introduction of meat, man's age started to come down. If you all know that? Yes. And so this is the part where sometimes we have to ask ourselves about eating meat. Not that I think now if I become a vegetarian, I'll live 200 years old. I don't think so. But I will live at least as long as God has given me. And now I really think that 100 years is possible. Very, very possible. Of course, when we talk about blue zones, and yes, I have the opportunity of living with 100 years old people in my neighborhood in Loma Linda for 6 years. You know, these 100-year-old people are very cheerful people. They are not sad people. You know, you will be walking back after school, 6 o'clock. It takes about 10 minutes from the college where I studied to go back to the house in Loma Linda. And as I walk, one lady will suddenly come and see me and, hi, how are you? And I would smile, yes, I'm okay. Are you okay? Would you like a glass of lemonade? I don't know her, she doesn't know me, She just say, hi, how are you? This is the neighborhood that I live in, Loma Linda. And so I said, okay. At the time, my wife was in Malaysia, so I was in US studying alone for 6 months. So I walk in, and she says, I'm 99 years old. Wow, I was like surprised. She works 3 days a week as a teacher, 99 years old, working 3 days a week as a teacher. She will drive to LA, which is about 1 to 1.5 hours in the highway. US highway can be sometimes very dangerous. She would drive to the highway in the morning, and in the afternoon she wouldn't drive at night. She would take the flight to go to the East Coast, that's where her 3 children stay, and stay sometimes with them for a month, 2 months, and come back. 99 years old. The other neighborhood is 95 and 96, husband and wife. They will drive, sometimes they ask, Edward, would you like something to eat? We can buy something for you. I'm like, okay, thank you. They are cheerful people, very cheerful people. Of course, I come to know later on, they are of course Adventists also. One of the reasons why blue zones are very interesting. They identify each area and find out why they live long, which I think I will not touch now because that will come in the later part of my talk. But basically I want to say here is that They are very cheerful people. They live long. Would you like to live long? That's another question. Some people say, live long, susah loh, Malaysia, economy runtuh lah. My house not this thing, I don't think I will be able to live long with this type of condition that I have. How do you want to picture yourself 40 years from now, 30 years from now? Asian people, I don't know, their concept of living long is a bit, short. We don't think about living long, but you talk about Americans, all of them want to live long. Yeah, most of them want to live long. And therefore now that's why Blue Zone picks up in the United States very fast. There are areas where the towns are going to make themselves Blue Zones. Again, I'll talk about that later. So when the animal part of the human agent is strengthened by meat eating, the intellectual powers diminish proportionately. Religious life can be more successfully gained and maintained if meat is discarded. For this diet stimulates into intense activity, lustful propensities, and enfeebles the moral and spiritual nature. And I go very fast through, I think, 4 or 5 things about her health reform visions. Injurious effect of tobacco. And that's why Adventists as a church, we don't take tea or coffee. Do we? A lot of people have asked about tea and coffee. Lack of hygiene among Sabbath keepers. Control of appetite needed. Care of health is a religious duty. Most diseases caused by a violation of the laws of health. Condemnation of various forms of intemperance. Stimulation of drinks, alcohol, tobacco, highly spiced food, and overwork. Now this thing about tobacco is interesting. During Ellen White time, how do you cure a cough? Smoking. How do you cure a pneumonia? Smoking. Yeah, that was the time during Ellen White, and she would write that smoking is bad. So if I was the doctor at that time, I would say, who is this person writing? Why is she writing and saying that smoking is bad? It's actually to cure. It was only about 40 to 50 years later, in 1945, World War II, end of World War II, 1945, right? World War II, right? At the end of World War II, a medical student in UK decided, third-year medical student, decided to do a study on doctors. It's called the Doctors' Health Study. And find out how many of them have lung cancer. Just a study that he wanted to do. And surprisingly, he found out that doctors who smoke have higher chances of getting lung cancer. He didn't put any correlation. He just did a study. And that study started becoming, more people looked into it. And then only about 1970s, 1980s did they find out the chemical reasons why smoking causes lung cancer. 100 years, about 80 years before, Ellen White says smoking is bad. 80 years before. So I am very impressed, not very impressed, I'm very proud to be following a church that follows or makes its church members practice good healthy lifestyle and be ready for the second coming of Jesus. Vegetarianism is advocated for the first time in this year 1863. Proper dietary habits necessary to control appetite. Very important to control appetite. Control of the mind is essential. Natural remedies offered over drug medication. Pure air, water, sunshine, physical exercise, adequate rest, fasting, and proper nutrition. Personal hygiene, environmental concerns, health education. Although these prescriptions are all for all people, division was given specially for Ellen White's family. That part, I have to ask myself what it means. But basically, it's for all people. Okay. Vision of December 25th, 1865, that the church should start health institutions and hospitals to cure those already ill and to instruct people in methods of preventive medicine. So interesting, 1997, I was going to be a heart surgeon, trained so hard. At that time, the hospital asked me, Dr. Sinaga and Dr. Tekno came and asked me, Edward, would you like to work in wellness center? I said, no. Wellness center, no. I'm a heart surgeon. I'm going to prevent people from dying by when they get a heart attack. That's what I want to be. So I said no. 98, I took my first exam failed. Took my second exam, failed. Third exam, they came back again and asked me, Edward, are you going to be a heart surgeon? Would you like to work in a wellness center? I thought about it. This was the time when, somewhere all about the time when I became a vegetarianism. Vegetarianism. When I became a vegetarian, and I had this life-exchanging experience, and I said to myself now, I think preventing people from getting sick is better than curing people when they are sick. And so now the hospital says, Edward, we would like you to go to Loma Linda and learn more about it. And where else to learn? Loma Linda, the ideal place, even for non-Adventists, to me, Loma Linda is the ideal place to learn about preventive medicine. The ideal. We have got enough students from around US who have come and applied to Loma Linda to study, and they are not Adventists, learning about public health and preventive medicine. And it is such an ideal place because it has the composition of both the religious as well as the scientific world. So I mixed for 5 years with people who are experts in all these categories, both Adventists and non-Adventists. And that's why I think now I can say I gained quite a lot of experience and knowledge in this field of health reform and preventive medicine. The health of the body is to be regarded as essential for growth in grace and the acquirement of an even temper. If the stomach is not properly cared for, the formation of an upright moral character will be hindered. The brain and nerves are in sympathy with the stomach. Erroneous eating and drinking results in erroneous thinking and acting. Erroneous eating doesn't mean meat. Whatever food that you eat out of proportion. Want to eat nasi kandar at night? Want to eat vegetarian nasi kandar 12 o'clock midnight? Is it okay or not? Tonight, Manchester United is going to play, my favorite football team. Am I going to stay awake to watch it? When Lee Chong Wei plays his badminton in All England at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to wake up and watch the game, this is the part. I used to do it. Now, I have to think twice, because I'm thinking now of a healthy lifestyle. My friends will say once in a lifetime you will see this game. But how many times do Manchester United play football at night? Every week. Are you going to stay awake every weekend to watch this game? No. My wife will say, you watch this, the footballers are all going to be healthy. They run, they do everything. Oh, you are just watching there, and then most probably you take one packet of kacang, and then you take one packet of muruku, and you eat while watching again. Worse some more. Okay? So the lifestyle involves every aspect. It's just not only the eating. Our physical health is maintained by that which we eat. If our appetites are not under control of a sanctified mind, if we are not temperate in all our eatings and drinking, we shall not be in a state of mental and physical soundness to study the Word with a purpose to learn what said the Scripture. Very important. You cannot study the Bible if your mind is not alert. And you know that part of the mind that is most important is the frontal cortex. The nucleus it's not nucleus ambiguous, it's nucleus incumbens. Go and read about nucleus incumbens and what stimulates that part there. Your lack of sleep also influence this area of your brain. The brain that does a lot of habit as well as rational thinking. The body in general and the mind in particular are the only medium through which God can communicate with human beings. And if your mind is influenced by drugs, if your mind is influenced by coffee or tea, can you accept and receive what God is going to teach you? It's going to be very difficult. And that's why the church is promoting no coffee, no tea, no caffeinated drink, no Coca-Cola, no Pepsi-Cola. And so some of us, when we change, especially I know some of us, when we have our old habits before and we change to new, very difficult to give up the habits. And this is where we have to sometimes ask our God in heaven to help us to change. And you know, when you change for life. I'm now about 17 years vegetarian. Last week in the plane, big temptation for me, because I ordered vegetarian meat. So they gave me like boiled vegetables and all that. The next one had omelette. I like eggs, but I remember I don't want to eat eggs too much. But there was omelette and there was beef. Wow, I tell you, 17 years after not eating, that beef smell goes through your nose. It really tempts you. So as soon as I reached Hong Kong, I was thinking to myself, hey, nobody around me. This is 17 years, only last week, nobody around me. Maybe I should go around and look for some food to eat. And my usual thing is now I've decided to have a little habit, just like Min Min, I think it's quite good to know where you're going. My usual habit of eating outside of Malaysia or Penang is Subway. Because I can get a healthy sandwich, Veggie Delight in Malaysia. If I go to Singapore or Hong Kong, they call it Veggie Patty. In US, it's Veggie Patty. So I'll eat my sandwich foot long. I buy it, eat 6 food for a meal, and then wait for the next 6 hours or 8 hours for the next meal. That's my usual meal outside of Penang. I have now an app called Two Cows or something like that, which tells you all the vegetarian restaurants in Penang, in Malaysia. So whenever I travel somewhere, sometimes I will tell, okay, this is my place I can go and eat. Like Min Min, when I go out with my friends now, my friends are very, very supportive of me. First thing they will say, Edward, you're good, man. You look healthy, better than all of us. By the way, my age group 52, 3 of them have got bypass. One is an obstetrician and gynecologist. He already got bypass about last year. The other 2 had bypass 2 years ago. One, we have to add another one now. 52, I'm 53 by the way, this year, 52 last year. So these 3, we are all keeping tabs now, who's sick and who's not sick at this age. I don't know whether you do that. My age now, everybody's fine. So last week we found out another one is in hospital of heart disease. And he's a big lawyer. So sometimes you get all this fame and you get sick. You have to ask yourself, that's why for them 60 years old is out team already. They don't want to live longer than that. So now when I go out with my friends, the whiskey, they will go second round. I'll tell them, you're driving home, no? You want to lesson or not? Okay, last one. So 2 of them are very happy that I come with them, because if I don't go, they will drink like mad. And then sometimes they will leave their Mercedes Benz in the restaurant, go back by Uber. Next day they will come and take their car back. Yeah. So these are the things that sometimes happens to my friends, and so they like me to go out with them. But I think I tell them sometimes, if you are doing excessive, might as well don't call me. I don't want to be the policeman among your that social event. Going to finish soon. The body is the only medium through which the mind, the soul are developed for the unbuilding of character. Hence, it is that the adversary of souls directs his temptation to the enfeeble and degrading of physical powers. Talking about Satan. His success here means the surrender to evil of the whole being. The tendency of our physical nature, unless under dominion of a higher power, will surely work ruin and death. Salvation is not a matter of eating and drinking, correct? It is not. But if you want to be a good Christian, you need to eat properly and you need to drink properly. We are not our own. We have been purchased with a dear price, even the suffering and death of the Son of God. If we could understand this and fully realize it, we would feel a great responsibility resting upon us to keep ourselves in the very best condition of health. It's interesting now, I'm doing wellness. All these people come to see me for checkups. And every time they will know, even without me sometimes telling them, yes, my sugar is high, I know. I need to control. Don't worry, I will do it soon. They will tell, of course, they come to a realization that when they come for checkups, that their life is not good. That's why sometimes I think, even though you all feel you're good, it is good for you to do a medical checkup to see where you stand. We might have a false perception that we are healthy, but who knows, my sugar might be very high. Who knows, my blood pressure might be very high. And if it's that, then we have to change our lifestyle and take care of our health. Okay? And I'm doing all these topics from Ellen White because you want to be close with God, right? All of us want to be close with God? I presume so. And therefore, when you want to be close to God, when you read His Bible, when you read His writing, you'll be able to understand. If you not, then you'll be going training, okay, forget. Just like you study your chemistry, your biology, your commerce, or whatever, you do sometimes first round, forget. Second round, forget. Third round, maybe I remember a bit. But when you understand with God, first round, boom, everything goes into the mind, and you study, and you become a better and effective student and worker in whatever way you do. And that's why it's so important for me to realize that keeping a healthy body is not just about salvation, it's not just about it, it's about being able to be a good person and be able to project this health to other people so that they will see you and say, 52 years old, 53 years old, wow, you're good, man. I played badminton last Thursday. I play every Thursday now, badminton. I hike every Friday and Sundays, but this thing. So I do my hikings every Friday and Sundays. I still play football with my hospital team. But sometimes they play when the times I'm busy. But yeah, 53 years old. A lot of people will tell me, Edward, you play badminton, be careful. You're going to die on the court suddenly. That's what they tell me. I know where my limits are. I know how to exercise. Tomorrow, Dr. Dicky will talk to you about exercise. When you have the necessary knowledge, you know what to do, you know how to take care. Right? When you know that this corner of the road causes accident, when you approach this, you will be careful. Because this corner always causes accident, and therefore you be careful. So my friend's father, Ulu Kukut, remember Ulu Kukut in Kota Maradu, had an accident just about Christmas time, after Christmas. And I always say, if all of you know that Ulu Kukut, that is the highway that you go turn going up to Kota Maradu or coming down, which is very fast, and it's a sharp bend. And it's been known to cause accident. And every time when I go through that road, I'm very careful. And my friend's father, who's been there like over 40 years, went and his four-wheel drive tumbled, and he went to the hospital for 1 day. Fortunately for him, nothing happened. So I told him, why don't you all know that this place is dangerous? So the same thing, if we know that certain things in our body makes us bad or makes us unhealthy, why do we do it? The common answer that most Malaysians will give is, biasalah. Sekali sajalah, once in a while only lah. I'm going out for a wedding lah, so I want to drink just only one more glass of alcohol for the non. Just it's okay lah. So all this lah that I get from my Malaysian patients are very interesting. It's always just lah. So you know, I always tell my patient, you can say all the la la la, but when you get the heart attack, yeah. Sakit lah, sakit penuh lah. Not really. But what I told them is, when you get a heart attack, sometimes this is what I tell my patient now. When you get a heart attack, all of us will cry. But the thing is, there was 10 years for you to prevent yourself from getting the heart attack. Heart attack doesn't come immediately, you know. I mean, in the build-up. It comes immediately, yes, today, doing something, got a heart attack. But for the past 10 years, I did not do anything to prevent myself from getting the heart attack. You could have taken care of yourself 5 years ago by doing a checkup and seeing whether the cholesterol was high, the blood pressure was high. For people who smoke, stop smoking, there's a big chance of getting heart attack. No lah, nothing will happen to me. It's okay. So I had to... Thursday, I had to argue with a guy, a Muslim guy who's only 32 years old, married with 3 kids, who said smoking is nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I smoke, it's okay. Never mind, my family's all okay. I enjoy life. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy now. I say, what about when you're 50? Lama lagi. I don't want to think about 50 years old. I want to think about present. This is the part where the same question will come out. When do you want to die? If you want to die at 100 years old, what would you do now? And that's why all these messages have come, because it is a process of improving your relationship with God and making your body healthy. Health passage is intended for the help the process of sanctification. In pursuing this cause, we are not glorifying Him in our bodies and spirit, which are His, but are committing a great wrong in His sight. Has Jesus given Himself for us? Has a dear price been paid to redeem us? And is it so that we are not our own? Is it true that all the powers of our beings, our bodies, our spirits, all that we have and all we are belong to God? It certainly is. And when we realize this, what obligation does it lay us under to God to preserve ourselves in that condition that we may honor Him upon the earth in our bodies and in our spirit, which are His. I want to present God when He comes again in the clouds of heaven with a wonderful body. And that's, I pray for everyone. The Christian in every act of life seeks to be guided by two principles. That is to actively seek to promote and maintain life and good health, and to do the very best possible in every circumstances in life in which we find ourselves. Christians are to strive to follow the principles of true temperance, which is judicious moderation in the use of all that is good and health producing, and total abstinence from all that harms and hurts. True temperance teaches us to dispense entirely with everything hurtful and to use judiciously that which is healthful. We are to discard anything that is hurtful, and we are to use those that are helpful for you. And now we live in the day of knowledge, where a lot of knowledge has shown that helpful living will make you live longer. I'm going to skip all this because all this talks about the same thing. Actually, I like this part here, sorry. The body can be polluted, defiled, and ultimately destroyed through ingestion of all deleterious food, drinks, and harmful substances. Insufficient physical exercise. Any of you exercise? I don't need to answer now. Overwork. So I got finally one very hard to find engineers who work on time. Most engineer works overtime. Most of the factory people, they have to work overtime, 8, 9, 10 hours. They don't work 8, sorry, they work 9, 10, 11 hours sometimes. But last week I got one engineer. He doesn't want to be promoted. He doesn't want too much money. I just want to work 8 hours. I will go home at 4:30 because 5 o'clock is traffic jam. So he comes at 7:30 to work, finish at 4:30 and goes back home and spend his time with family. He doesn't want promotion. He doesn't want too much money because he says there's no such thing as getting rich. If I get more than 20,000, the next thing I want more than 30,000. If I get more than 30,000 salary, the next thing I want more than 40,000. You will never be satisfied with life. I was, wow, he's good. So he was happy with what he has, and he's a Buddhist. Interesting. And some people, we always like to overwork, work, and that is also sometimes the fault of us. I know there are pastors who overwork. Some pastors, like Pastor said, 6 churches, 8 churches, 10 churches. We have to learn to delegate our responsibility. We have to learn to take care of our body. Very important. Feeding the mind with impure thoughts is not good. Improper posture. Ellen has given a printout for you how to take care of your posture when you work. Abuse of bodily organs. Overeating, eating too fast. I met a PhD person, a nurse who did PhD in mastication, eating. He says you must chew 52 times, then only you swallow. Then only the food will be good enough for you. Can you imagine chewing 52 times? I cannot. But he said that from research, that is the best possible digestion that you can have for your body. 52 times. Wow. I really like, especially when you go with friends and you eat soup and all that. Oh, I'm used to. Yeah. So they said the soup, when you take soup, you're not supposed to drink the soup. You're supposed to scoop it with your spoon, put it in the mouth. That will allow some form of digestion. When you drink the soup, all that soup goes down, you don't have digestion. So you can have problems with your health. Okay? There's a lot of things that we have not learned now. And a lot of people are doing studies on all these things. Failure to employ natural remedies or insufficient amount is a problem. God's church has an obligation to establish healthcare and educational centers. So this is the part where Ellen's work comes in. Our churches, we all say, oh, there's a hospital, Penang Adventist Hospital. But what about KL? What about Johor Bahru? What about Kelantan? Singapore? Yes, Thailand, we have Bangkok Hospital. What about places that don't have hospitals? So I think the church, was it General Conference? Every church is a hospital or something. Well, every church is a health center. Yes. And so we always think that in the health center we must have doctors. Clinic 1 Malaysia actually don't have doctors, you know. They have all the MAs running. Most of the clinic one Malaysia is MAs running the clinics. So why can't we make our church like a clinic one Sabbath? Yeah, I don't know what this thing. A clinic one SDA church over there in your church where people can come and seek remedies and helps and information regarding their health. Pastor Jack, who happens to be the great grandchild of Ellen White, I think the third or fourth generation, who was there last week. By the way, he was there in Sabah in 1994 for the mission. They had a mission trip from US, so they came to Sabah Kota Marudu when I was there. Pastor Jack, he says, you know what, Edward, I'm glad you're a doctor. He says, I'm a pastor. My work soon we don't have much thing. To penetrate the world now, we have to penetrate with health. Because he says the Muslim world, nothing else will go through. Even education, very difficult. But health, yes. That is a penetrating wedge to reach to people. So, I think you all are involved in a wonderful, exciting ministry. The health ministry. You don't have to be a doctor, but if you can practice good health principles, your friends will ask you, wait, how come you look so young? How come you look so healthy? How come you don't have certain sickness and diseases like we have? And then they will inquire, and probably that's your chance. I know when I go out with my friends who are vegetarians, I mean my normal friends know, but by normal, the first thing they ask me, why vegetarian? That's the first thing they will always ask me. That's your clue or that's your take off. Haha, why are you a vegetarian? Okay, I want to add, oh, I didn't know there were so many. Yeah, oops. Let me go with the last one. How do I? Yes, correct. I miss my map. The highest attainment in Christian life is the control of appetite. Without this victory, all hope of heaven is vain. So please remember Ellen White's writing about health, and in health you will learn so many things that you suddenly realize that was not there. Drinking water is important. Sleeping is important. Afterwards, I will talk to you about even breakfast is important. Yeah. So these are all the things that we will learn to keep ourselves healthy and strong. Thank you. Any questions?